G'day, legends. Today I am sitting down with world-renowned surf and lifestyle photographer Scotty Bauer from Western Australia. With 25 years plus years in the industry, Scotty has done it all. He was a star photographer at Surfing Life, has won multiple awards, and now runs his own media production company. He even shoots drone footage for the World Surf League. But today we're diving into a massive topic for photographers: pricing your work. We'll cover how to license your images, price your photography services, and deal with brands using your photos without paying. If you're new here, my name is Tom Woods and I'm a full-time professional photographer and have been since 2004. Since 2019, I've helped thousands of photographers gain supreme camera confidence so they can unlock their full creative potential. If that's something that you're keen on, then check out the links below. Make sure you watch right till the end because the insights keep rolling throughout this episode. And drop your thoughts and questions into the comments below. Now let's get into it. G'day, Scotty. How you going, mate?
Good, buddy.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming on to this podcast today. Super excited to learn more about your journey with photography. But particularly today, we are going to be discussing pricing, which is a real sticking point for a lot of photographers, not just in the ocean and surf photography industry, but also just anywhere in the photography industry. It's so hard to price your work, know what the work's worth and how much the client will pay. So I don't think anyone's nailed a perfect formula, but that will be the basis of a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about today in the podcast. But for those that don't know you or those that do know you and want to learn a little bit more, I'd just like to ask a little bit about your journey with photography and, well, basically just how you got started and up till where you are today.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. Completely obsessed with photography. It's my whole being, basically. This is what I do every day. It's what I live for. That and the ocean. That's my whole life. That's my whole existence, basically. I've been shooting in the surf industry for about, well, easily 25 years. I don't even know how long it's been, but it's been at least that. I started at a very young age. I used to steal the old man's camera and out Red Bluff with my older brother. I used to jump in the car with them, and I'd be running around the rocks when the surf's really big and taking photos and things like that. So I got the bug pretty early in life with that. Pretty dirty from about the school that I went to. They started teaching photography after I'd left, so I was a bit pissed off about that. I was a pretty average student, C student, but I got A's for art. So obviously the creative kind of aspect is something I really enjoy. And yeah, well, more about my work, I guess. I was on staff at Surfing Life for many years. I think about 10 years all up. Yeah, that was in the era of film and magazines. Obviously the magazine that whole era is almost completely dead now due to digital media. So yeah, I had that in the heyday. So I'm pretty grateful with that. Managed to nail quite a few covers over the years and do a lot of really good travel all over the planet. So basically wherever I want to go, I just pitch the idea and they either signed off on the budget or didn't. So yeah, I did a ton of traveling in that 10-year period. And yeah, just saw the writing on the wall basically with that industry after the financial crisis many years ago. And yeah, basically just pitched an idea to a friend of mine. So she's Makala Jones's wife. She works in the production industry mainly for swimwear. And I pitched an idea to her about putting imagery onto swimwear and garments. And she really liked the idea and she did a few tests. And before we knew it, we were in business together. Yeah. Worked in the swimwear industry for nearly 8 years, I think, running a company, which was an eye-opener, having staff, having warehouse, all the challenges that go with that. Yeah, the industry changed a lot. We got in the heyday and had a lot of fun, made some money, and saw the writing on the wall there, and didn't really like the office life. It's 100% not for me, and so it wasn't sustainable for me, and the staffing, HR side of things is really quite difficult to navigate. And from there, I went back into commercial photography and just being, in general, just being creative. Well, more commercial. Still working in the surf industry, but yeah, more of commercial kind of style shooting for beverage companies, Tourism Australia, things like that. Still work for Surf League. I still work for Stab. Yeah, just being a commercial photographer, basically, you just need to be quite diverse. Kind of things I shoot are still stills-based photography. Can be in the studio. Out in the field is what I prefer. I do a lot of video these days, which is mostly what I do, and a lot of specialized drone work. And so I have my own drone operation, all the licensing out of the wazoo to do all those kind of specialized jobs. And recently been working with broadcasts with WSL, which has been really exciting. Really cool. Those kind of jobs are really cool, but high-end pressure. Basically flying a drone live to millions of people. So you can imagine the pressure there not to fuck that up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really exciting, but really draining and really gratifying, seeing that all kind of live and that whole thing kind of go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, I didn't know you were doing it for the WSL. There's some epic drone clips that I've seen, and I'm guessing you were doing the Margaret River stuff, and it's always impressive seeing those drone clips and how they do it. I've actually seen a couple of your YouTubes where you're just flying through just stuff that I can't even imagine how many drones you probably crush getting.
No, much about that is that I guess a lot of people still don't know about what it's basically called FPV, what FPV is. Do you know a little bit about it, or I explain it to anyone?
A little bit, yeah. Actually, it would be a cool thing to talk about, for sure.
Yeah, first person view. So essentially you're flying through the camera, the first person view camera on the drone. You're fully goggled up. Actually, the pair right here, these are the digital system. These are quite chunky. We've got newer kind of low profile versions now. So basically flying the drone through goggles, like fully immersed with a controller, obviously in your hands. But if you let go of that controller, the drone falls out of the air. It's the ability to fly however you want, upside down, sideways. Yeah, the world's your oyster with that kind of stuff. It's high-end acro. There's no auto mode. Well, there is auto modes, you self-level and stuff like that, but it's all manual, and it's and line melting and so fun. Yeah, I don't do it enough because I get so excited. I get butterflies every time I fly because it's just so intense, actually. This is just an analog system, but that's...
You feel like you're actually doing it.
Yeah, it's like flying. Yeah. This one, there's better systems to buy now, but this one here still can do easily 120 k's an hour in a few seconds. And this just got a older school GoPro on it, which still does the job. But yeah, that's FPV in a nutshell. But there's tons of that now, and there's and girls that are extremely good pilots that actually make a good living off it now. Wouldn't be an easy thing to do, but yeah, it's amazing art form. It's flying that well.
A steep learning curve, I'd imagine. Right.
No,
It'd be quite a learning.
And you break a lot of shit.
You have to get good at it.
A lot of cameras and a lot of components.
Yeah.
Going to a lot of motors. Well, just a little bit expensive.
Yeah, unreal. That was really cool insight into, different type of drones to what a lot of us flying, but as photographers. I haven't gone down the route of, I've got a drone because everyone expects you to have a drone as a photographer, but I just sort of get it up, get my stills and get it down and, just tick a box. I don't even advertise that I do drone, but yeah, I see the value in it. Like I prefer being up in a helicopter myself, but yeah, it's undeniable that you can just like pull up, have the drone out of your back of your car within 5 minutes. You're taking the shot and you're down. Yeah, it's unreal.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just another camera. But that's the way I treat it. It's just amazing that it flies and you're tapping into these different angles that are great for telling a story, especially with video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. Yeah, that's interesting. Just on the videos aspect too, because I do a couple of videos for, long-term clients, but once again, I don't advertise video. I've just stuck to stills, but I feel as if like the newer photographers coming on now, you've almost got to double up. Do you agree with that? Or do you think you can just be a stills photographer?
I think it's expected now. Personally, I think you'd be mad not to. I think diversity is the key in our game. If you have that diversity, you have those skills behind you, then you're not going to be struggling so much with work. Yeah, having said that, I know a lot of still photographers that do really quite well because they're specialized and they're really good at what they do. But for me personally, it's all about being diverse, and I just love the space. Essentially, like photography, I will never be bored of it because there's just so many things you can tap into in that space. It doesn't matter who you are, what your interests are. It's just absolutely insane. Whether it's stills or photography or drones or, macro photography, it's insane. So I think you could live a couple of lifetimes over and still not learn it all, So that's, I think for my brain, the way I work, I need to constantly be challenged and doing different things. It's definitely suits me, photography, and just being challenged all the time and knowing that you don't know it all and just learning it in a way. It's always interesting, exciting, and just gratifying, and just knowing that sometimes you shit.
I love that
and
beginner's mindset.
and it's very good. Yeah. Yep. It's all learning. It's just like life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like the more you get into it, the more years you're into it, the more you realize you don't know. But that's a fun thing because it's not going to get boring ever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very like you don't know what you don't know. But that's awesome. Yeah.
Like the ocean,
Yeah.
it humbles us all the time. You never quite know what's going to happen sometimes. Keeps us in check.
It's so good. Yeah. Like photography for me is just the vehicle that gets me out in nature more often, gets me traveling to different places I never would have traveled, and gets me meeting people I never would have met as an introvert. So yeah, it's like it's gifted me a lot, and the photography's just been the journey. I don't even know if I'm totally in love with photography. I'm in love with the opportunities or the environments or that photography get me into. I do geek out on photography and think it's just amazing how you can produce an image, and no one else can get an image like yours because there is. Yeah. So yeah, it's awesome. So the idea is doing as much as possible. So that's why we both decided to try and make a buck out of it, which I envy some people that make a buck out of something else and then have photography as a hobby so that they can do exactly what they want. But at the end of the day, I'd rather like work on my passion. So that's why I've chosen to go down this path. And probably the same as you. You can tell you've still got the fizz after all these years, and it's only getting stronger. So it's pretty cool. Did you say you grew up in the northwest of Western Australia? Is that right?
Yeah, so I grew up in a little
cool.
redneck
How
country
good.
town. Yeah, northwest Carnarvon, northwest Australia.
You're in Carnarvon? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing country up there. So harsh, but
Very harsh. The Carnarvon itself comes with a lot of social challenges there. Being remote and a lot of racial tension, things like that. But there's lots of good things of living in a place like that too, and like having fresh fruit and veggies, and is basically the gateway to that whole coastline there, which is some of the best on the planet. And I've grown up with exceptional surf right at my doorstep and amazing sea life and diving. I'm an avid free diver and ocean conservationist as well. I'm very selective with my free diving. I do spearfish, but I'm very selective. So yeah, just kind of mindful kind of hunting. But yeah, huge respect to the whole kind of that whole ecosystem.
That's so good and so amazing down there. Well, that's so good. And then today you're running a commercial photography business. You still got your surf clients and you're making a living. And you told me just before we started that you're going off grid and got a new pad that you're living in as well. That sounded amazing too.
Container behind you, so it's a sea container home. It's completely off grid, which is really cool. It's all very new, just kind of settling into this zone. Lucky I've got satellite internet that seems to be working pretty good. We're on the potty. Hopefully it's not breaking up too much.
Yeah. Well, I do it. I was doing.
Adding into the mix, I've recently, kind of mid last year, I think, started a production company with a good friend of mine, Chris Binns. So Binsy's pretty seasoned in the industry like myself. I think collectively we have about 40 years knowledge between us, more. Binsy was working at Surfing Life back when I was there and ended up being the editor for quite a few years. And he works for Red Bull, the Surf League as well. He's been a rider most of his life. So yeah, we've come on board together working on Saltwater Media Co., which is more of a media production company. I'm more pointed towards video production. So we have clients like the Surf League and Gage Roads Beer and different brands like that. So just building that up, still relatively new, but yeah, really enjoying that space. I think because we know so many people, we have so many friends that are like-minded and really talented. We kind of just pick our jobs and go, hey, what are you doing? Like, can you work with us on this job, and just pull everyone in and have a lot of fun and make money, Yeah.
Yeah, unreal. That's super good. I see that. I did have a quick look at your website before we come on, and it looks like you don't just looks like you might have something to do with the distribution as well. And I think that's another thing. Like, you can be a photographer and you can be a videographer, but now it's like I noticed a lot of videographers anyway have got means to distribute it. So they don't just make the video and then say, there you go, they get it out into the world. Is that something that you guys are doing as well in the distribution side?
Yeah, well, we do, but it's not a primary focus at the moment. So it's more of an expansion thing for us. It's essentially more giving our clients the tools to really maximize that, those image assets that they have, that being social media, or just arming them with all the right assets to hit it on YouTube or whatever that kind of channel might be. And it's just, being in that space and being very aware of how all those gears kind of work, gears and cogs work in those kind of different platforms. And social media itself is a whole nother business. So yeah, we're more primarily Saltwater Media Co. anyway, primarily focused on that production side of things. And just arming our clients with the right tools to smash it.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like you still got to, you're not just like leave me the video and see you later. And because that can be disheartening sometimes, because you go to all this hassle of making an amazing library of images or a video, and then if it doesn't get distributed right, well, then they say, oh, the video didn't work. But if it didn't get distributed correctly, well, it's just no one's going to see it, so you don't know if it doesn't work.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, it's like you said, it's so disheartening, and it's about getting the right client and just sounding them out from the start. Like, it's very much a part of what we're going to jump into shortly about pricing, is just asking those right questions. Where is this going to sit, and how you can shape that, and that essentially those details, if a better word, will dictate your rates in that whole process as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I really hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. I'm just jumping in here real quick to let you know you have got way more potential in your photography than you might realize. Your confidence, your skills, your creative eye, it all can go so much further. And that's exactly why I've built a range of programs to help photographers like yourself level up. Whether you are just getting started with my $27 water photography course, or you're ready to go all in with my comprehensive programs, which include live monthly calls, deep dive tutorials, and an epic community of photographers pushing each other forward, there is something here to help you grow. We even have some limited spots for one-on-one mentorships, so just check out the links in the description below. Oh, and this break, it just wasn't for this announcement either. Scotty's off-grid internet just dropped out, so we've had to move locations to finish the interview. So let's dive back in right now.
All right, we're back on. Just had to do a bit of my satellite internet dropped out, so we've had to change locations. I've had to change locations.
Yeah, cool. Welcome back. Let's continue on. Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for shuffling around. 15-minute drive to the office, and now we're back on. So let's just dive into the pricing and what the whole podcast was set up for. And it's just how we price as photographers. It's a real sticking point for a lot of us. Even after a couple of decades in the business, you still doubt yourself when you're charging for an image or you're quoting for a job. So I'm sure every photographer that's watching this, and even the hobby photographers that might have been asked to buy one of their images, have struggled with this debacle, or this concept of how much do I charge? How much are they willing to pay? Because you can just be going way under, or you could be unlikely, but you could be going way over. And so I'm pretty sure that you're happy to be pretty clear and have a lot of clarity around what you do. I'm happy to also share and be transparent with what I do, and hopefully that helps you guys that are watching this video, but also helps the industry, and it's a way to educate the actual buyers as well, the companies. And a lot of the companies do know what they're doing, and they just take advantage. And some companies or some new startups may not know. So it's up to us to sort of educate that. So yeah, what's your thoughts on basically how it's gone?
I guess. I grew up in a small town and I didn't have many people to ask questions, and I've had to learn the hard way. And I've been ripped off before with my images. I've undercharged. I've done all the wrong things, and I've learned along the way. I've been lucky enough to learn from guys like the Regnard twins, aka Tungsten brothers, the Mauritius French brothers. And they've been very open and honest about pricing, which they understand how important that is to set a precedent or standard across across photographers. So if anyone's undercutting, they know full well know they're doing it. Yeah, so just trying to think where I should start. I guess the big problem area at the moment is social media. When you post something on Instagram, you still retain copyright of it. I'm not sure the legalities of actual Facebook and Instagram. I know they have some kind of terms in there about the images on the platform, but essentially you still own copyright of your image. And if a company comes along and pulls that down and then uses it to promote one of their, say if in the surf industry, promote one of their riders or promote their business in some way on their social media using your image, you're well within your rights to charge them accordingly for that. The prices that I set are vary, and they've very much based on the companies or the businesses following. So I can't even remember off my head. I should have that in front of me. But
Yeah, I've got a message. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I'm pretty sure I've sent it to you. From just for interest sake, if they're from 10 followers to 1,000 followers, and so on up in increments, I've got rates set for that, and up to 500,000, 1 million, and so on. The rates exponentially go up, and you charge them accordingly on their viewership, basically their account, how many
Following.
Yeah, they're following exactly.
Yeah. So how much is going to be?
That's
how much your
right. Sorry.
Yeah. So how much your image is going to be distributed? Did you want me to read some of those out?
If you like.
Yeah.
It does need to be reviewed, and I will put another. Yeah, kind of. I don't know if caveat's the right word, but I'm by no means perfect in all of this. I'm just giving what I know, saying what I know about all this, what I've learned. By no means, I'm always learning with it. And things are changing so much in digital media. So I got to make a conscious effort to review this stuff every year. I think it's very important.
This message was about a year ago, so you might have already reviewed these, but like starting with 1 million plus followers on Instagram, one time use, I would say it is at $700, 500 to 1 million followers, $500, 300 to 500K followers, 350, 100 to 300K followers, 250, 50 to 100K followers, 150, and under 50K is $75.
That's pretty close. They should technically have gone up because of the price of living and everything. So incrementally, everything needs to go up as far as rates go. All my rates have gone up, commercial rates. I can't think of the last time I reviewed those, but they need to come up a little bit. So I just want to throw it out there. Someone, if I open my Instagram up in the morning and say, I see a business, a label using my images, promoting their business with a rider or like a surfer or rider or whatever it might be, I just keep it really simple. It can be hard to get a business contact if you don't know that brand very well, but a lot of these brands I do know well, and I just email them straight up and say, hey, look, you didn't ask me permission to use this. Bang, these are my rates, and send them the invoice straight up. And obviously you want to be very professional and nice, but you need to be firm in all this. I see so many photographers get so worked up about it, and it's completely pointless. Who's that going to help? You get upset about it, the brand or whoever you're working with on the receiving end is going to get pissed off and going to hate you. At the end of the day, that term business is business. You need to eat. There's a scenario that's happened to me a few times. I've had brands go, "Oh, look, really sorry. Can I give you some wetsuits or something like that?" My response is, "I'm sorry, I can't eat wetsuits. Wetsuits don't pay my mortgage." Be very firm, very simple about it, like straight up about it. But I mean, everyone's style is different, but that's just me, straight up.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and the responses I've had is like, "Look, we didn't know this and that." I'm like, well, essentially, social medias are just another platform for marketing. It's part of your business. It's part of your business set makeup. It's very important to your business. It's very important to how you make money. Why shouldn't you be paying for those images?
I totally agree. Like, I'd just like to ask as well, you don't have to call the rates out, but if, say, if I was a brand and I said, yep, really love your image, how much is it to use on my website? Is that a different fee to social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got,
Is it higher or lower?
in a sense, it can be lower, but I mean, no, it's probably not the right response. It's all about, again, with a lot of all this, well, almost all this stuff, it's all about usage. So is it going to be a banner image? Is it going to be that landing page image? Is it going to be an inset? Is it going to be used across multiple pages? These are the questions you need to ask, and the pricing is set accordingly from that usage. I can't remember what a banner is, maybe 600 or something like that. And I'd like to point out too, you can get into territories more, I mean in countries. So I have a base set of rates, which a lot of my work is used in digital media. So that can be used, basically license that for social media and web usage, general usage across like digital kind of realm. Anything away from there, if it's banners, print advertising, it's an additional rate. And then if it's used, let's say, I'm saying a company's license for use in digital in Australia, that's just one set of rates. And as soon as that usage is outside of Australian territory, it gets an additional rate. And I guess that's set for differently for all kinds of photographers. It's just something that you got to work out yourself, I guess. And then things you got to think about, if I recently come across it again, and I quite often do, is that a particular image might get used so many times, and it could be 10 grand for them to use that across all these different territories and all these different platforms, like digital or whatever it might be, or back banners, a whole mix of things. That's when you can step into doing buyout rates, and that is beneficial for yourself and beneficial for the client, where you just have a set rate. Bang, this is unlimited buyout for a period of a year, and you set that rate, and it's basically a happy medium where the client gets good bang for buck, you get good money. That can be anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 and upwards. Again, it just depends on territories. I just have a series of questions that I ask for usage. Maybe you can break that down quickly. Basically, where is it going to be used? Is it going to be digital, social media, web? Is it going to be banners? Is it going to be brochures, lookbooks, things like that? And where are where is it going to be used as far as territories? Is it just going to be Australia, or is it going to be worldwide, or is it going to be Australia, Asia, Europe? And then I base my pricing from there. And yeah, I just have a set standard of rates, and that set standard of rates has all the different breakdowns. Social media, like we were talking about, that's based on the followers, and usage on banners, lookbooks. They're all broken down into a schedule of rates. And then on those schedule rates have day rates. I don't do anything less than half day rate. So day rate, half day rate, and those rates are different on different services too. So have a standard set of rates for photo video, standard set of rates for drone photography. And yeah, you got to really think about your pre and post-production in the mix of that. I know some photographers, like a good friend of mine I just worked with recently, she has a set of rates that includes post-production. And that works well for her. Let's say it's probably about $1,800 a day roughly. And she factors in post-production. I don't factor in post-production for the reason that a lot of my work's different to hers, and it changes from job to job. So it'd be crazy for me to factor in post-production. And she's predominantly stills. And when you start working in the video realm, you can't factor in post-production because it's very, very, very much more so dictated on the output, the videos that need to be produced. So I have my schedule of rates, and I will ask the client the right information about what they need produced. I can't say it's easy, like you know that yourself, especially with video. Like I know some videographers charge the minute rate. So every minute shot and produced, they charge a certain rate. I don't do that. I charge the actual shooting the job, and then I'll work out how long it's going to produce that job. And essentially, if you can, have a buffer. I mean, ideally you'd want a 20% buffer in that, because you almost always go over. Sometimes you're under, but you can kind of try and work out and buffer there that covers you across the board for maybe annually or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. No, that's really interesting. So you're charging, when someone comes to you for a quote, you're charging more on the actual result than, say, per the hour or a day rate, or you do have a day rate?
So I have the day rate. Yeah, sorry if that didn't make sense. So I'll have a day rate that never changes. So I'll work out, okay, how long that's going to take to shoot, and the day rate's the day rate, or half day rate, or some jobs are a week. And then from there, it's just the post-production just very much depends on the client, what the client wants, where that's going to sit, how that needs to be shaped for them. And then it's not easy. Like I said, you have to quote for that, that post-production.
Yeah. So that post-production's separate. You're charging post-production separate then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, like I said, but a good friend of mine, she factors in that rate to a day rate, but she's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do actually. But I don't do videos. So videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of know what I want. Look, what do I get? Like I'm by no means high end, but I'm not the cheapest. And depends. It really depends on the job. But if it's pretty straightforward, I'm 2,500 for day rate, 1,500 for half day rate, and and that might sound like to someone that's listening to this that's on a in a job or something like that, they might think, oh my god, that's amazing money, like 2,500 every 5 days, or 5 times a week. But that's not the reality of it, because baked into that 2,500 is so much. It's the back and forth with the pitch decks, the client, the back and forth on what they want, and sometimes organizing talent, or conversing with talent, and then it's obviously the post-production, and it's also getting the job to start with. So it's not like a working photographer is booking 2,500 every, like 5 days a week from Monday to Friday. That's just not the reality of it. So some people just the people go, oh, you make $2,500 a day. I know that's nowhere near like high end, but I'm not in a smaller country town as you in the northwest, or in the southwest, I think you are now. But it's I came from Coffs Harbour. Like most of my career was in Coffs Harbour, and now it's up on the Sunshine Coast. So yeah, small towns and businesses, you can't push them as far as like obviously my day rate would be way higher if I was getting asked to do a job for Apple or Nike or someone like that, because you factor in so much. And that's just like your normal sort of like decent sized businesses, but not like or everything from small business to like a larger business, but not like a large brand where you'd have to bring on so much more into it. So if I need an assistant, then that's going to go on top. If I need to hire certain gear, that's going to have to go on top, and all that sort of thing. But if it's just me and my camera bag and tripod, and like I'm out there and a few flash guns, and that's around about what I charge for a day rate. And that can go down if it's a 3-day shoot or a 5-day shoot, because sort of you get more work.
Yeah, just talking on that, I have my day rates, but I actually prefer to quote on project rates.
Exactly, because that's money. Yeah, as long as
bigger jobs, and that might keep you busy for, like we just did a job for Gauge Roads, and that kept us busy for 3 weeks, and we charged accordingly for that. What was I going to say? I mean, there's a big difference. What's probably a better way of saying it? it's one thing in knowing your worth, but it's knowing where you sit, what's your niche and what's your market. You're charging accordingly to that market. But we're talking about standard set of rates, but when you're talking about Apple and those big corporates, they've got so much reach, and they have they use images and it's spread far and wide, and you're charging accordingly for that. That you might be doing a week-long shoot for them just for one image. Like it's a different realm, and
it's different. I don't play in. Yeah.
You're often working through. Sorry, that's all right. You're often working through agencies, large agencies, and that even becomes tricky as well, because those agencies, they charge huge amounts of money, and they also try and make money out of you as well. Not always, but that's a whole different kettle of fish, and you're working with wider teams as well. If you're working as short and 10 people in there. So yeah, that's kind of my push, is to do bigger, larger jobs, because I really like working with a team. And I mentioned this before, just have so many good friends that are amazing photographers, amazing videographers, amazing operators. Just pull all our mates in for just depending on what kind of job it is. And yeah, it's epic. Pull everyone in on projects, and that way we don't have massive overheads, and we just go from project to project. And it's essentially what we're doing as photographers. Anyway, we're going from project to project, like our incomes are like this. Like any photographer can set that. You've got all this cash in your bank all of a sudden, and it just goes poof. You've got out. And that's another thing I want to point out. You're talking about rates, and $2,500. You're talking about that, I think, as a day rate. It's not expensive, in my opinion. Like put it to like a business might go, oh wow, that's way too much. Well, the computer I've got in front of me is like a $6,000 computer. The camera I have in my bag, just the body alone, is $9,000, and all the lenses. So at any one time, I'm hauling around 30, 40 grand, sometimes 50 grand's worth of stuff. It's tech. Like it only has a certain lifespan, and so you got to factor in your rate somehow to refresh all this stuff in how many years. Drones are ridiculous for that. Tech just moves so fast. Like often these tech giants like DJI are putting out drones so fast, the software is not even up to scratch, and they're renowned for upgrading the software after they've released they do it all the time. That's how fast it's moving. Yeah, so they're just about to Mavic 4 should be very soon. It could be any day. Everyone's pointing towards April. I'm currently holding off buying gear to see when that drops, because that'll be beneficial for me for the broadcast stuff that I do. And get a stills camera and on a compact drone. I use the Inspire 2 platform still, but yeah, there's Inspire 3 platform out now as well. I can't really justify that at the moment. Yeah, that's more kind of high-end cinema.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's right. The gear is insanely expensive, as most people do know and appreciate. But more to the point, it's how much the money makes for the company. I worked with a marketing company. This is a few years ago. There's a new marketer. She'd been there for a year with this holiday park at Southwest Rocks on the east coast of Australia. She got me in to do a shoot. They had no professional photography. We went there and shot it. That's normally a 3 to 5 day shoot. So once again, a lot of my shoots are over 3 days at least. And we did the shoot, full comprehensive shoot. And then over the next year, she did a good job. She was the marketer beforehand for a year. But then in the next year, she told me a year later, it's like their annual income increased by over $1 million. And I'm not saying that that's because of my photography, but she was just she was distributing the same, but she was able to distribute something that landed with the audience and, got the bookings. And there could have been other factors in the way that, the staff that was in there. I'm not saying it was all $1 million, I made them $1 million, but like their return on investment would have undoubtedly been just significant, even just photographing there, because they got cabin accommodation. And, quite often these holiday parks have got the manager going in there with their iPhone and taking pictures of the internals and then selling these things for like $400 a night. And they're using their iPhone. And it's like, as soon as you put them up on, all the platforms, stays and on their actual own website and everything like that with professional photos, like I'm looking for accommodation all the time and I know all the tricks with photography and I still go for the ones that have got better photos,
Yeah, yeah.
even though I know that's not necessarily a better room. So it's like, just she was trying to, and then she got out to the broader group and said like, how effective that was. Like they went to the Big Four meeting. I'm pretty in with the Big Four group, which is a holiday park company in Australia that have got like, hundreds of parks all over Australia. But yeah, and she sort of like, put her case forward for just not necessarily using me, but like getting professional video or getting professional still photography and how much it helped them increase their revenue. So it's like, we can go on about, the gear cost us lots of money, but like we can flip it and say, well, how much is our photo making in them? And like, for your Instagram, and we'll go back to social media as well, because like traditionally 5 years ago, if you got asked for a bite, say if you want, they wanted the back page on Surfing World magazine and they wanted to buy your picture to put on the back page of Surfing World magazine or inside a full page spread. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I bet most photographers would have been charging way more for that than they would have been for an Instagram post.
Oh, absolutely.
And that still might be the case, right? But my argument is that a absolute ton more people are going to be seeing it on a telephone than the back of a Surfing World magazine, even though it looks great, it's high quality, and, it just looks, and it's like a little bit more everlasting. The fact is that everyone's attention's on these things, like it or not. And yeah, when a company does put up that post, it's seen by thousands, sometimes millions of people within a day. And, that reach can be ongoing. So I would argue that we've probably slowly changing our mindset around that. But I think the impact of a social media post, even though it's just social media, as they used to say, is like making them a lot more money, getting them a lot more attention than a billboard or an ad in a magazine. What do you think about that?
Yeah, in a sense, it allows brands to reach everyday people very, very easily. There's something I wanted to point out. Yeah, there's something I wanted to touch on. I think it was pretty important in the mix of this. So, I've had brands use my imagery on their social media platform, and one particular platform account was nearly 1 million followers. And I spoke to the marketing manager, and basically said to me, "Oh, we don't have any budget for that, for paying photographers." And my argument was, well, essentially, you can't market your business without people like me. You can't market your video without photos. You can't market your company, your brand without video. Without those two things, you don't have a brand. And I think that gets forgotten about a lot. And I know it's not as easy as that, but because there's so many photographers and there's so many people want to be in that space. But in a nutshell, like, if they don't have that, they don't have nothing. Anyway, the fact that they used it, then they have to pay. Like, they can't argue with it because, and another argument I put forward quite often is, I'm sorry, but this is sheer laziness. If you had asked me what the rate was and connected with me, asked if you could use it for starters and what my rate was, I would have been very clear with you what it was, and there'd be no surprises moving forward. But out of sheer laziness, sometimes multiple images get used without asking, and it's like, well, you're as good as they have to pay you, and they can
It's flat out stealing.
ignore you. Yeah, they can flat out ignore you, and that has happened to me in the past. But I'm very persistent, and it makes me even more fired up to drill that down to that company to make them pay.
Well, that's why it's important to have discussions like this between us, but also to share it out there. So I want people to know that their pictures, and I'm sure you do too, that their pictures are worth something. And the thing is, that brand would never have put it on their social media if they didn't think they were going to get a return on investment, well, a return, like, a response, or it was going to help their brand in some way. Otherwise, they wouldn't have posted it. So the fact that it's someone with 1 million followers, or even if they've got 1,000 followers, by the way, if they're trying to upscale their brand, why should we pay for them to upscale the brand, which was exactly what we're doing? And even if you're a hobby photographer, is in no way helping you by getting shared by a big brand or a small brand. And so even if they share your credit, it's like, I can tell you right now that, like you said about the wetsuits, you can't eat a photo credit. I can't feed my kid a photo credit. And I don't think ever has a photo credit led me to any sort of work. So, just them saying, oh, it's good exposure for you because we've got 1 million followers, that rubbish. And it's even more rubbish now. Like when I did get shared by, say, companies back in the early days of Instagram, I actually did get followers. And now a big company, huge like following, it doesn't have to be a company. Sometimes it's just one of those hubs or something. And you don't get any sort of following, definitely not any money for it. So you need to think it's better off keeping it in my possession than getting just like shared out to the world, and then the effectiveness of that image just diminishes because like it's already been shown by a brand. So I think it's important, even if you are a hobby photographer and you're not making money from it, to probably charge for. Why not? Your cameras are expensive as well, and you've gone to the trouble making.
To produce that, I just, it's like I was trying to explain myself about, what I do when brands ignore me. I've had a few that have flat out ignored me, and it gets me fired up. Like, no one likes being ignored. I've only done this a few times. I actually report them through Instagram. I can't tell you straight off my head how to do that because I haven't done it for a while. I haven't had to do it for a while. You can actually report them, and if they keep ignoring you, you can prove to Instagram, Facebook that is your image, that is your copyright, and they will remove it. And I have had that done twice now, and it's not necessarily easy.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, but I'll make a point of it. If they ignore me, then I'll make sure that image gets taken down.
Yeah, I would say like I've had a few issues with just blatant use of copyright, not in the social media space as much, but just on people's websites or email newsletter mail outs and stuff like that. And it's basically just, a friendly but stern message, respecting them, but also more so respecting yourself. Just saying that, there's serious repercussions, and like you can even share, like it's not much research to look up court cases where companies have been, sued millions for incorrect use of an image. And, you can link to those articles if you want to really put some pressure on them. Going down the legal route is a long and arduous task, but I think most companies will want to do the right thing by the photographer if you just go about it the wrong way, not just, I think, just like you said before, alluded to before, just not going like on full attack mode. How dare you use my image? This is my, and having a rant, but just saying, I've noticed you use my image. I'm not sure if you're aware that, images are copyrighted, and the social media is a form of advertising, a strong form of advertising, probably the most effective form of advertising. And you've used my image to, increase your brand's value and possibly profited off it. So here's my rate sheet, something like that. So absolutely, I think that's, whether you're a professional or not, I just encourage you to call people out on that. And then so the other thing is, like, I mean, I suppose that's pretty straightforward. If the company's good enough to ask you to use your image, and what it depends on how they ask. Sometimes they ask, oh, how much is for your image? And that's the best way to, get a message. But sometimes they go, can I share your image for a tag, or can I share your image? And there's no talk of money. I guess you just say, yeah, for sure, these are my rate sheets. Let me know. Is that the way you'd approach that question?
This is a tricky one. It's an individual thing, I guess. If it was a business, 100%, here's my rates. I don't have any exceptions.
Yeah.
I have worked with different accounts in the past where I've just let them tag me, but I don't do that anymore. The only time I will do it is if it's with an account that has a bit of a story behind, how to explain it. if they've engaged in me and they say, "Oh, we would love to use an image of yours. Like, we would like to select an image." This just happened to me recently. Select an image that has a bit of a story behind it, and that we'd like you to write a few words about it, and obviously give you credit. And it had a bit of substance to it, and it was cool. And I was happy to do that. It was a very large account. I was happy to do that and happy to promote it. Yeah, I could just tackle that case. And
Sure.
but there's loads of
100%.
that are just, it's absolute robbery. And then there's all this AI stuff that are peddling as real too. So there's just a whole mix of crap on social media, and people don't know what's real and what's not. I'm hitting large numbers on Facebook at the moment. I think I've done 30 million in a couple of months views, and a lot of the stuff I'm posting is slow-mo wave imagery, video, sorry. And I constantly get it. Oh, this is AI, this isn't real. I'm like, this is absolutely 100% real, mate. Like, it just looks so different because it's slow-mo. It just looks disappointing by it all, you know? It's hilarious. I'm like, I would love to see AI try and reproduce this, because it couldn't. Maybe one day it can.
Yeah, maybe it's us, and that's disappointing.
It's a whole nother conversation.
Factor. It is. That's probably another conversation that might be worth having. But I still think you know, that authenticity comes through in a photo, and it's like you can see a well exposed, sharp photo taken in perfect light and stuff like that. But if there's no feeling between, you know, say if it's a portrait, there's no feeling between the photographer and the sitter, well, then the photo just looks good. But then there's like an inherent feeling that really gets people drawn in, and it's like it's unquantifiable. You can't actually see why that photo is so good, but it's like it's an energy in the photo. I think obviously that's something that AI is never going to be able to reproduce. So let's just hope that we start putting, you know, to battle AI, I would say just putting more heart and putting more essence into your photography is going to help with separating yourself from the AI stuff. Just to go back to that bit about, yes, sharing the photo or getting your photo shared, I think 100% it's a really cool thing to get your photo shared by like a hub that's trying to promote photographers, or someone that's trying to shine a light on your work because they love your work. So don't get us wrong about just, you know, someone yeah, sharing your work that's to your benefit. Like, you know, they might be saying like, yeah, a little bit about your backstory or a little bit about why they love your photography. So that's a different sort of kettle of fish to, yeah, like a tourism agency just using your photo to promote the area, because they've got large budgets, as we both know. Certainly in some areas, they're very large budgets, and the brands as well. And it's even if it's a small brand, and you might want to, you know, help out someone that's just a tiny little startup, but there's got to be some sort of return on energy, and you might not be able to charge them a lot, but there's got to be some sort of return on energy for what you have put out there into the world. Otherwise, it's going to weigh you down. Like you might think, yeah, I'll just get a credit for it. And you might be able to, you know, get stoked off the adrenaline of getting shared by a company for a couple of years, but then it's going to weigh you down and you're just going to get dejected. So it's better to start that respect for yourself and your self-worth, to start having a rate sheet and charging, and have it ready as well. So you're not just going, you know, making up on the spot, or you're finicking around. So,
Yeah, I guess on that, to younger photogs that are trying to break into this realm, you got to start somewhere, and perhaps having your imagery shared just to build your account up, that will work for you at the infinite stage. Yeah, like knowing your worth, and that, I mean, you have to build your ability up. So, you know, like we have our set rates, and we've been doing it for a long time. You know, a newbie coming into this realm they can't charge what we charge. They have to charge a bit lower, but you don't want to be too low. So, I mean, it's a hard thing to explain almost, but you don't want to lowball yourself, but you want to basically charge your worth. If you're still working out and where you sit and what your niche is, I mean, you just need to make a start. Sometimes that's the hard
Yeah.
part.
It's probably go higher than you think. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a screw.
Start.
Yeah, we all undersell ourselves sometimes. But
So the other thing about that,
sorry, you go.
yeah, I was just going to say the other thing about that is that, say, if you come in as the $500 guy, you're always going to be known as the $500 guy.
Yes.
And you might think, oh, I'll do this. I'll get my foot in the door by doing a $500 job. And then guess what? When they've got a $5,000 budget, they won't be looking at you because you're the $500 guy. They're going to go to the $5,000 person. And I've done it in the past before. I've put in quotes where I think I've missed the job because I've come in lower than what their budget is. So it's a balancing thing because, I've come in, you're too low if you're getting yes to every one of your quotes. I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
So when you start getting some no's, you know that you're starting to like price correctly. You don't want to be getting a yes. But then a caveat to that is that sometimes you might get a no, especially if it's a bigger company and you've just gone low because you go, oh, I dream to work for that brand. I'll just go in here just so I can say I've worked for that brand. And the brand will just go no because they'll just go, oh my gosh, we've got a $20,000 budget for this. And this guy said he'll do it for $2,000. And it's like, you're not going to get the job because like we've got a serious budget here and he's not going to be able to deliver or she's not going to be able to deliver what we're looking for. So yeah, there's a thing of not getting the job because you're undercharging as well. I just thought I'd point that one out too.
Yeah, no, that's a very and I love that. Yeah, it's so true. If you're winning all your quotes, then you're charging too less.
Yeah, I was doing that in Coffs Harbour every day. I was doing so many jobs and I like never got a no. And I was charging like not the money I'm charging now, but I still thought I was charging okay money. I knew it wasn't like expensive.
You won't,
but I was working like so much. And then I just like, my wife's going to me all the time, you got to put your rates up. And it's like, well, the back stops with me. If they say no to me, we don't pay the mortgage, we don't pay the food. So it's like, it's a little bit of a delicate situation. Yeah. But one time I just went, nah, you're right, let's go. And I just started charging double what I was charging. And I started getting a few no's, but I was getting paid way more per month. And I was working half as much. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing for like that was probably the first 5 to 7 years. Like I started in full time. We started earlier, but I started full time in 2004. So from 2004 to 2008, 9, I got yes to every single job. And that was like, so I basically probably threw away 5 years. I could have doubled my income and probably work less. So if that's not a lesson for an up and coming photographer, I don't know what is.
Absolutely.
But you got to be bold, you got to be bold. And it is scary to, not get the job because you don't know when your next job's going to get asked for. So I'm very aware of like people that just want to get the job, especially if that photography is their only thing like it was for me. A lot of my one-on-one students, they've got a job and that they're doing photography on the side or they're trying to break into photography and they've got the advantage of really going after exactly the type of photography they want, but also setting their rates high, and they're normally in a job that they're used to getting paid pretty good as well. So that's the other thing.
And on that too, as far as like getting paid your worth, if you can find a niche in your industry, you can really start dialing it in and making really good money. Highly successful photographers are often just dialed in their niche and they can charge almost whatever they want. And another thing too I found is if you've got the right client and they're invested in you, it's almost irrelevant what you're charging. If they're already invested in you and you're genuine and you're good at what you do and you're obviously not trying to shaft your client and charge them too much, it works out, They're investing in you.
Yeah.
And everyone's happy.
100%.
And that comes with...
Yeah, I think those relate.
Yeah, relationships for sure. And that comes with... just being around and learning and knowing how to have the confidence in, talking to those people and engaging those people and having the work behind you to show them.
Yeah, solid work behind you is definitely a key, but I feel that the relationship, like once you're a decent photographer, you don't even have to be like high level, but if you're a decent photographer, but you are unreal to work with on the side, or you deliver what you say you're going to deliver and you deliver on time and you just, be basically a good human, that's how you run a photography business. That's like the number one thing for me.
I feel if you're easy to work with and you're essentially solving a problem for that client, then you're well on your way, And
Cool. Yeah, that's exactly what.
I know photographers that aren't very good photographers that also know just how to dial every aspect of their business in, and they work hard, man, and they know they're not as good as the next guy, but their point of difference is they know how to hustle. So that's something I always try and take away from those kind of photographers is just kind of learning their hustle, and not being cheeky, but just kind of like just putting yourself out there a bit more, because no one's going to do it for you, right?
Now you got to back yourself. I admire that. I admire that those skills of some of those guys that can. It's not so much market themselves, but just the way that they back themselves as well. I think it's like a thing that we can all work through. It's that self-worth thing. It's that confidence thing, and just being bold enough to ask for what you want. And yeah, that's what I've learned off just not so much photographers, but just anyone that's in business and battling in the world and stuff like that. So, we can definitely learn from that. So,
And
I suppose.
too, I by no means know everything, like none of us do. So I'm still very much learning as well, just like yourself. But if any younger aspiring photographers have any questions, obviously both of us are easy to find on socials, and just reach out. I'm always, if I have the time, I'm always happy to help, because I understand how important that is. Because I didn't have much of that when I was younger and starting out, because I was pretty remote and pretty isolated.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was kind of a blessing as well. But also I just really had to do the hard yards and work it out myself. So I appreciate that. And you don't get if you don't ask to, So I think if you have good intentions and be willing to help and just be, like you said, a good human, things always work out. Like people are too scared to share their knowledge because someone's going to use it against them. That may be the case in some people, but in general, I disagree. Yeah.
I think it comes back. I think the problem with photography, unlike any other industry, is because we love it so much. You came on the start of this podcast and just said photography is my life. I love it and everything. And these photographers that are getting into it, they love it, and they love seeing their image published, whether it's in a magazine or it's in in print or even on a social media post. And so then that's why they're reluctant to share, because they'd go, oh, well, I'd be doing it for free anyway, because it's like what I love to do. But I think at some point, like one of the messages I got actually when I put it up that I'm going to be chatting with you today was from a girl, and she just said that she's been asked to do a branding session with some beach sunrise shots and surfing in the water. And she's just gone, what do I charge? I've been doing so much free work. I'm sick of doing free work, but I also should be, I know I should be charging, and I don't know how to, because how do I put a price on my work? And it's like, yes, how do you put a price on your work? But
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, she just
that raises a couple of points which are good to know on charging. So we're talking about day rates, whether it be half day rate or day rate, whatever. I actually have additional rates for shooting water and additional rates for shooting drone. And I go on a percentage. I have my day rate for general shooting, and I add 40% on that for water. I know that works for some photographers. I know other photographers do it differently. I'm not sure what you do yourself, but essentially you're adding this whole nother element and a whole nother element of risk to your shooting, and it's niche, it's specialized. There's a lot of water photographers, but there's not a lot of good ones. So again,
there's more, but it's still super niche. I would say that for all the cameras that get sold in the world, 99.999% of them aren't sold with a water housing, or they don't go on to buy water housings. Even though, because we're in the industry, it feels like everyone's got a Aquatech water housing now, and they're all shooting from the water. But that's because it's in our world, and I think it's it's a pretty small world still, even knowing it's exploded. I'll admit that it's exploded in the last, 5-10 years, but yeah, it's still super niche when you're going against what I use with my water photography to advantage is that when I'm pitching, I'm normally pitching for my commercial jobs against just regular photographers. And I do a lot of resort photography and yeah, like holiday parks, as I said before. And I lean strongly on my water photography to get the job over the line because I'm like, okay, they's got, I know who I'm pitching against, but then I go strong as like, well, they can't get the immersive water shot for the scrap or in the water parks. Yeah, so it's like most people got a drone, so you can't really use that card as well. But I mean, you could definitely use it because you've got another level of drone, especially with your video.
Especially with the drone stuff. I have educated a few clients in the past. They have drone operators that come on board and offer them a cheap rate. And my question to the client is, well, all right, are they registered? You need a number through CASA. You need to be registered for a commercial operator for a sub 2 kilo. Are they insured? Do they have public liability insurance? It's very important. I guarantee majority of those operators don't.
Really?
Actually, there's quite a few operators that are registered, but there's still a lot that aren't. So yeah, if you're on that shoot and something happens, you hit someone with that drone, you are screwed if you don't have public liability. Yeah, I do. Well, I obviously do the broadcast. That's a huge risk. Like risk versus reward is kind of nuts. If I hit a surfer in an event, that's huge. So I've got 20 million liability, and I'm working as the team. I have to have my team members covered as well. And then I'm doing shooting for swimming meets as well, windsurfing competitions. This is drone work that I do. I need to be licensed, remote operator license. I need for some jobs my REOP, which is an operational license, which is not easy to get, and you got to be signed off by a CASA specifically and be competent. I don't want to rant on too much, but yeah, I just put it to the client. Well, do they have the backing, with insurance and things like that, if something happens? And a lot of
Yeah, for sure.
so it's something to think about. At least be registered with CASA with your ARN, because if something happens and you're not registered, CASA are gonna fully screw you. They're gonna make
Yeah.
they look
Yeah.
mate.
Well, yeah, there's that. And also from my experience, you can't get insured without that number.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you can only be insured if you're using it for commercial use as well, from my insurance company anyway. So yeah, I pay more for public just because I've got a drone now. It's way more for public liability. It's more for my gear insurance as well, just with drone as well. And there is more risk. Like you're standing on the ground with a camera just pointing around your face. You're not going to do much damage. Well, the potential for damage is way less than if you're flying a drone. So yeah, you got to work that into your prices as well.
Yeah, this is true with the risk versus reward. I have to say though that the insurance companies have embraced the drone operators a lot more these days. Like back when I started, there's companies that didn't even want to know about it, and now it's becoming more cost effective compared to what it used to be like.
Yeah, that's good to hear. We've flicked from one thing to another, but I suppose to wrap it up, I would just say that your image is worth something. Even if you're an amateur photographer, even if you actually even took the picture on your telephone, and a company then uses it, they're only using that because they think that it's going to increase the value of their brand or they're going to get a profit on it. And why should they profit off your artwork or your time or your creation? You should get rewarded, and it's a tiny amount. Like these brands, like it's a tiny amount what we're asking for a social media post for them to pay to.
Sorry, just very quickly, and probably should wrap up. We don't want to harp on too much. The way I operate a lot, I work with a lot of different talent, a lot of models, foilers, surfers, and I want to work with good talent. So I'll work with them essentially as a collaboration, but I'm also very clear as soon as those images are monetized by a label, my rates kick in. So that's something to think about when new photographers are working with talent. You want to work with really good talent because that that you can make beautiful images using amazing talent, but you just got to be mindful when it is monetized by labels. You should 100, 1000% be charging, and just need to be clear with the talent as well.
That's just brought up another question, which is sort of related, but what do you think the future of, like, you know, we're in the 90s and the early 2000s when it was the glory days and the magazines and the brands that were paying the photographers for, you know, an epic image and stuff like that. What do you think that the future is, where the brands are paying less, but the athletes, the surfers, are now, you know, getting their own filmers or paying the photographers to do the work? And like the clients for us photographers, I think might be changing, might have already changed. I don't know, I'd like to know your opinion, but do you see us photographers getting paid more by the athletes than the brands in the future? Whether, you know, they've got the budgets or they're expected, because the athlete's almost expected to get their content and they're getting paid accordingly to how much content they produce, to, you know, how effective that. Look at Nathan Florence. He's got a full-time filmer that follows him everywhere. He obviously would pay him. And because he's creating such prolific content, you know, he's been probably able to monetize that. So he gets paid more by his brands, and then he can pay the photographer. So
Yeah.
that's how it sort of happens. Like a horse bolts and it's a solo horse for a while, but then all of a sudden the herd catches up.
No, just on that. So it's more and more common now that you're not getting hired by the brands. And with athletes, the athletes have in their contract, they have a monetary amount to produce content. And it's so common now.
Yeah.
I find sometimes I think it works. It doesn't work as well because it's hard to play hardball with the athlete, because you want to work with the athlete and it's just like they kind of want you to charge less so they make more money. I just don't like it. I want to work for athletes, and I see a lot of mates getting stitched up at the moment because the athletes just aren't paying them, or they're like whinging about the rate when they're getting such a good deal. Like when you're working directly with a label, it's very clear cut. Like, this is the rate. They can come to you and go, "Oh, well, can you do it for this?" And like, you have a negotiation, sure. But it's just like, it seems so much more hit and miss when you're working with some of the athletes. And not all the athletes are bad, but it just seems more of a shit show, in my opinion. More as business orientated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think in the future they're going to have to be. And then if they don't pay like good photographers, then their stuff isn't going to shine as brightly, and therefore their budgets are going to get cut. But there'll be a time where they realize okay, if I want to get paid the highest, I'm going to have to get the highest, you know, someone that can do video real good, can do stills real good, because someone else is investing in a good photographer. And so I don't know. I just feel like it probably is better to work for a brand, or like a marketing manager of a brand who understands the worth of the content.
I just want to
easier, but
and it's an interesting one that's happened recently. I've seen an athlete burn his bridges with videographers and photographers in general, just not paying. This particular person has gone from one videographer to another one and kept burning bridges. So essentially he stitched himself up. So this guy might have to move because no one wants to shoot him anymore. Like, it's just absurd.
yeah, it's just
It's really silly, you know?
Yeah. Well, the surf photography industry is pretty small, so it'll get around if someone's doing that.
And all the videographers of photogs, we all know each other, and we're like, "Hey, what's going on here? Is he sorting you out?" And like, "No, okay." And then everyone knows, and it's like, "Hey, this is really shit." It comes back so fast to bite the person on the ass. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think there's can be a time where the worth of the photography is realized, how important it is, and the video editor that sits on the beach all day and films, or swims all day and from the water and then edits all night and stuff like that. It's a huge workload, but the content that they produce, the content is pretty much, you know, everything. Like, that's the commodity, and without that, and you know, we're just sort of like treated as like, you know, if I don't get you, I'll get someone else.
You know, that brand, they have nothing. If they don't have photo and video, they have nothing. they can't market their brand. And it's the same with the athlete. Yes, you know, they might be this great athlete, but if they can't market themselves or get the visuals out there of them being amazing athletes, then they're dead in the water as well. So yeah, need to be mindful. Those athletes need to be mindful.
That's what I mean.
They're
Yeah, they are, and that's something that's new for them, and it's something new for the industry, that they are their own brand rather than just, you know, back in once again, the 90s, the 80s, the early 2000s, they just went out and surfed, and the brand took care of all that sort of stuff. They didn't really, they just were themselves, and now they need to either create the content or get someone to create the content for them to still be viable. So that's why I think creating, whether it's like going to be easier or not, and you think probably not, but I think creating partnerships with the actual athletes is going to be possibly the way forward for the photographers coming through. Yeah, hopefully we've just like, you know, I opened up some avenues or streams of discussion to either you can follow Scott. I'd suggest you do. His photos are insane. There's one photo. I just want to share my screen. Just got your website up here, mate. And this particular photo, hopefully you can see it soon.
yes.
There it is there. Yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing up this photo is because it's such an iconic image. And that's the thing about social media today. You can see it, bang an image like that, and then just scroll past in 2 seconds and forget it ever lived. But this particular photo, if I'm not mistaken, someone's taken a very similar one, but it was on a surf book called Visions. Was that the cover or the back cover?
That's the one there. Yeah.
Yeah, that photo, like I said before, like you scroll past these incredible photos, but that photo was in that Visions magazine or book. It was more of a book that I, you know, had around me for like months and months and months, and just like was mesmerized by that photo. So yeah, when was that? Like back in the early 2000s or 90s or?
Yeah, it was 2000, I think, actually.
Yeah,
I won the best water image in Australia that year for that image.
Yeah.
And I think got 3 covers from memory. Yeah, I'm happy to die with that one. Yeah, kind of to showcase my work.
Yeah, just everything popped there.
Yeah, it's close to my heart too. That's where I've grown up. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an image that I haven't seen anyone being able to emulate.
Yeah, it's so good. I recognize there was an energy in that image that like I still remember today. And that's like the beauty of surf magazines, is that we really gave the pictures like that the time, and we had a whole month of looking at the same pictures rather than looking at like 700 pictures a day on Instagram. So, I mean, the world's just changed, and that's what it is. But yeah, just wanted to say, yeah, well done for that picture, and it's super cool that you're still stoked with it.
On film too. Wow, what are we now? 25 years ago on that image was taken on film. 50 ISO film, Velvia 50.
Velvia. Yeah, I used to shoot the Velvia 50. It was what the magazine wanted. They weren't interested in the other stuff. They only took Velvia and Provia. I'm trying to think of what the other Fuji one, but it was a lower one, and they didn't like it when
It was what we commonly used, and the 50 speed.
Yeah. There was heaps of limitations, like 36 shots, 50 speed film, which was like just so slow. But yeah, they were fun times, and when you got an image like that, it really stuck. So yeah, well done, man, and just thanks for coming on and discussing it. Hopefully, everyone that was on here got some value, and
So
yeah, reach out with questions via Instagram or below this, wherever this video gets posted. But yeah, happy to chat more in the future, and yeah, good luck with the new house and all your commercial photography and your personal photography moving forward. Hope you go well with it, man.
Thanks for having us, mate. It was good chat.
Cool. Awesome, Scotty. See you, mate.